All right, so welcome to my studio. If you've never seen it before, this is where I get my work done every single day. It's not that big. This is about a third of it, and there's some space over there. If you've watched any of my videos, you may be familiar with Mac collection, that sort of stuff's over there. It's in real disarray because I'm in the middle of some big projects, and so basically right beyond the camera is just a disaster area. So we're just gonna stay away from that today. So we've been raising money this month for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and as promised, when we crossed $50,000, I was going to stream about my Mac setup. I've got another stream coming up at 70,000 where I'm going to install the wheels on my Mac Pro. We're currently just shy or just at $60,000. If you haven't donated yet, you can go to stjude.org/relay. And the reason we do this is that my oldest son is a cancer survivor. When he was 6 months old, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He really wasn't expected to do very well with that. There were a lot of really scary times. He underwent chemo and multiple surgeries, and now coming up on 11 years later, 12 years later almost, he's doing really well. So he'll turn 12 this fall and is in 5th grade and is doing really well. That's because of the work of St. Jude. And what's amazing is St. Jude has never charged me a dime for it. Now, if you think about a decade of cancer treatment, how expensive that would be, it would have ruined us. It would ruin almost any family financially. And St. Jude just takes care of all of that. So as a parent, you can focus on your kids. So we'll talk a little bit more about St. Jude as we go through this. But I did want to show you guys my setup. So like I said, I use the 2019 Mac Pro. It's under the desk here. The desk itself is actually an old door. We bought my wife's grandparents' house, and when we moved in 4 years ago, we did some light remodeling, and this door wasn't needed anymore. And I needed a desk for this space, so I cut it down to size, put it on some cheap IKEA legs, and it's been my desk ever since. I like that it's all banged up. You can see there's like paint marks on it, and there's like holes in it and stuff, so I'm not too precious about it. You know, if I drop something on it or it gets scratched, it's no big deal. I've got all my audio equipment off here to the side. It's kind of out of frame for y'all, but there's a gear page on 512 Pixels. It's 512pixels.net/gear, and you can see all the sound equipment that I use on a regular basis to produce shows for Relay. So I'm not really going to get into that today. I can answer specific questions when I'm at the computer. I can see the chat, but we got a bunch of audio stuff there. For speakers, I use actually a set of really old Harman Kardon sound sticks. I've had these probably 10 years, maybe 50, I mean, a long time. They just plug in with 3.5mm jack into the Mac Pro. I've got the sub behind the display. And yeah, they're not referenced like studio speakers. Usually if I'm editing something that I have concerns about, I'll do that with headphones. But for music and just for general use here in the office, I really like them. I do have a HomePod on the shelf kind of behind y'all, behind the camera. But most of the time, I'm at my desk and I'm just using the sound sticks. The display is new, so this is a Pro Display XDR. I've been using the LG 5K. This is a very recent change for me, and really only possible due to a very generous, unnamed technology company employee who may or may not have let me use their technology employee company discount. So without that, I wasn't going to do it, but I've really been happy with it. Atop it, I have the LG 4K webcam that Apple sells. I have its twin here. You guys are seeing me through the LG Brio, which is basically it's the same camera with a different mount. So that's kind of where I work every day. I'm out here. I've really enjoyed having separate space from the house. It is in my backyard. I'm behind my garage. So I'm at home, but I'm not in the house, and that has proven really helpful in the era of COVID and things like that, where most of my family's home all the time. So let's go over to the Mac and show you guys some stuff there, kind of how I have it set up, kind of what I do with it every day, and get into some workflow stuff. So I'm gonna pivot over here, and I'm gonna change scenes because I can do that here. Look at that, isn't that cool? So I am streaming from the Mac Pro. I'm using Ecamm Live, which is a It's software by Ecamm. They make call recorder and some other things. And they really have some really great media tools for the Mac. Ecamm Live is not necessarily as powerful as something like Streamlabs or OBS. There are other tools on Windows that do really some good stuff with like pulling in game video and game audio kind of all at the same time. But Ecamm works well for this. So this is what I'm using today. And we just crossed $60,000, so that is super exciting. Thank you guys so much. It's amazing. We're on our way to $315,000. That was what we raised last year. We want to do it again this year. So I am super excited about how far along we are only on September 2nd. So a few people in the chat notice my wallpaper. I use a Mac app called Downlink. And what Downlink does is it pulls, let me turn hover text off. It pulls satellite imagery from NASA's GOES network. And so GOES is a series of satellites, and it's all open data. Most of NASA imagery is you can just pull it from the web. And so I use the continental US wallpaper because I'm kind of under this cloud cover right here. So I kind of like doing that. I like seeing sort of what's going on. Someone asked about the light. It is the Elgato Key Light Air. It's on a stand behind the display, and I have a button on my Stream Deck here to turn it on and off. So that is something new kind of for the podcast-a-thon era where I'm doing a lot more of this stuff. So that's the wallpaper. Like I said, I'm using a Mac Pro. It is the 12-core 3.3 gigahertz. I've got 96 gigabytes of RAM in it, and I have the AMD 5700X. That was the GPU that they put for sale a little while ago, and I've been really happy with that. The base GPU just wasn't very good. So I thought maybe we could start by going through what's on my desktop and dock. I'm using hover text so y'all can see it a little bit better. Here I've got my SSD. The internal one. I've got a Time Machine drive as well. It's mounted in one of those hard drive brackets inside the Mac Pro. And then I also have this 4 terabyte Samsung SSD that's on a PCI card. This volume is basically just stuff that I don't necessarily need on my internal drive, but I want handy. And so I don't necessarily load that up very much, but it is there. Intersect, of course, being a Chuck reference. So if you haven't seen the TV show Chuck, I'm a big fan. Intersect is a reference there. I do use my dock on the right side. I know that is controversial, but it is what it is. Finder, of course, messages, mail. I use Gmail and Google Apps for everything. It works fine enough in mail. I would probably use it on the web if I just had one account, but I have 3, and so mail kind of puts them all in one place. I use mail on iOS as well. Next down is Todoist, my task manager. Todoist is fine. I like the natural language processing and language entry stuff, but it is something that is not very Mac-like, and on iOS it's not even really all that iOS-like. So I'm always kind of looking at other things, but so far I've stayed with Todoist for a long time. Safari, of course. I use Chrome when I need to. The official Twitter app, I kind of gave up on Tweetbot about 6 months ago and just sort of gave into the official apps. I don't really like them, but it is what it is. Slack, of course, Relay FM. We're 100% remote, all like 50 of us, however many people are in that Slack. It's really gotten big. And I'm in some other sort of social Slacks as well, but Relay happens in Slack. Discord, so if you're a Relay FM member, this is a perk, the Relay FM membership Discord, so I'm in there all the time. I actually keep Discord and Twitter one virtual desktop away, so I use this desktop for everything, and then the next one for Discord and Twitter, and then the next one is music or iTunes full screen. So yeah, the Catalyst Twitter app, like, it's not great, but I'm trying to use Twitter less and less, so that is helpful there. Next down is Tot, which is this little text editor. You basically get 6 or 7, I forget, documents. It's on one window, and so I just keep random notes in there. So like right now I've got one for streaming. So like down at the bottom of the screen where you see the $60,000 raise and the Relay logo and all that stuff, I have all the code for that, so I can do that in whatever I'm streaming in and things like that. Apple Notes, basically, I've got like hundreds of notes in here, all sorts of stuff. Devon Think 3, all my Apple history stuff I've put into Devon Think, so I can show you guys a little bit about what's in here. So Devon Think, I've got a lot of stuff in here, so it takes a second to open, but it will eventually open. And I've got Apple events, so things like event notes, WWDC notes, that sort of thing. I've got hardware, so I go in here and I can see, all my stuff about iPods, all my Mac stuff, and these are things from old take-aparts to technical notes, articles other people have written. Got a bunch of Newton stuff. So I go in here and I have a bunch of scanned articles about the Newton. I keep podcasts in here, so this is the most recent episode of Connected. I do this so I can quickly search for things we may have talked about before. We use DuckDuckGo on the Relay site for search, but I like having it all local and kind of having a local version of all that stuff. Down here, I've got some other stuff. I've got a bunch of PDFs of Macworld magazine. So here's 1985 in June. So you can make music, Macintosh style. Look at this guy. And then a bunch of other stuff. A couple more RSS feeds from 512 Pixels. Some history stuff that I've written. And then a bunch of stuff about software. So I can go in here and look at everything about BOS. And I just have slowly built this up over time. And I really find it to be a really helpful tool for me. So that's what I keep in Devon Think. Calendar, use Reader for RSS. Trello, that's normally not on my dock, but all the podcast-a-thon prep and scheduling, everything is in Trello this year. We used Google Docs last year, and we had a Google Sheet for the schedule, but it was clunky, and it was really kind of a pain to go back and forth between the two. And so this year we decided to put everything in Trello, and that's worked really well. There's like a dozen people in there now adding cards and doing that sort of stuff. Day one for journaling. I keep a couple different journals. I have sort of a generic one of things I want to just journal about. I've got one called Fake Twitter, where things that I would maybe share online, but I'm trying some self-control there, would go in there. I keep a Field Notes notebook. In fact, here's my current one, white and gold there. I keep Field Notes with me, and I kind of sort of do a daily log. So today, I ran an errand this morning. Now I'm sharing with y'all. I've got a call in a little while. I sort of just keep up with daily log stuff. I take a picture of that and put that in a day one journal called Daily Logs. Okay, someone's asking about the art on my wall. So above the door is a fingerprint painting my wife and I did when we were dating in high school, and it's a boat, and the fingerprints are like pirates and stuff. And so I got that framed and put it over my door. These are just some shelves with stuff on them. If you go to the 512 YouTube channel, there's a couple of studio tours that show a little bit more. So here is a Aaron Draplin poster. He came to Memphis on tour and did artwork for each city. In fact, let me just do this. We'll just show you guys this artwork. So there's the Aaron Draplin poster. I've got the Susan Kerr dog cow artwork. I've got that tattooed. That's a signed print that Mike gave me for my birthday a couple years ago. And then down here, that is a proclamation. My uncle was mayor of Memphis when I was born, and he did a proclamation naming my birthday a holiday in the city of Memphis. And there's this great paragraph in here about, I'll just read it to y'all. Young Stephen, although lacking worldly experience, has already demonstrated advanced wisdom in his choice of parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. And that really makes me laugh. I didn't know about this until a couple of years ago. My dad found it at his house. He was cleaning some stuff out, and he gave it to my wife, Mary, and she had it framed and matted for me. And so I've got that hanging up there as well. So that's kind of the artwork there on this wall. And the studio is Just there's all sorts of stuff everywhere. Those shelves are like all my past field notes. Up there is my Mac Genius certificate and some other things on that top one. So, January 28th is a holiday in Memphis. People don't seem to celebrate it the way I think they should. All right, so day one, photos. I use iCloud Photo Library for everything. There's 60,000 things in my photo library, maybe. Music. Byword is my markdown editor of choice on the Mac. It's really simple. I like that it has a nice preview mode so you can see what the markdown is going to do. 1Password, Skype. I use Skype every day for work. Audio Hijack. There's also a video on the 512 YouTube channel about how I use Audio Hijack for podcasting. If you're interested, go check that video out. And then Find My. This mattered more when people left the house, but now they don't, so everyone's just here all the time. Someone's asking what 2020 Intel MacBook do I recommend? I'm a big fan of the MacBook Air if you're just doing sort of home, school, office stuff. If you need a little more power, obviously the MacBook Pro is pretty sweet. If you need a Mac now, buy a Mac now. I mean, I think Intel Macs will be around for a long time. Apple has said it's a 2-year transition. But if you can wait, I mean, we're getting towards the end of the year, kind of, and we should see the first ARM Macs here before too long. And then down here at the bottom of the dock, Ecamm Live, which I'm running now, System Preferences, which I had open, and then Stickies. I keep the 3 recent apps in there. I keep Dropbox in my dock as well as a downloads folder. So I can get to those pretty easily. So my dock does change over time, as you know, it's not a set in stone thing. Like I said, Trello's in there right now, but when we're done with the podcast-a-thon at the end of the month, that'll come out and give me a little more room. So up in the menu bar, Notification Center, obviously Siri, which I rarely use on the Mac. I have fast user switching, even though I'm the only user on this computer, but it lets me get to the login window quickly. Date and time, volume, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, time machine, sort of the normal stuff up there. Dropbox, I use third-party apps don't label their stuff very well. I have DropShare, which lets me share things to S3, and I can put a URL in there. Backblaze, and then Carrot Weather, so I can see my weather here in Memphis. People wanting to know why my dock is on the side. This really started for me basically when I became a Mac user in the early 2000s, because in a 16:9 world, you have way more horizontal space. And so why would I give up vertical space for a dock? Why would I do that? People are asking how my tooltips are so large. So in System Preferences, there is a option under Accessibility called Enable Hover Text. And so I just have that turned on just to make what I'm hovering over bigger for the stream. It's not something that I use every day. It has a cool shortcut. You can triple tap the Command key, and it will turn that on and off. It's really handy for streams. It's also really handy for doing screenshots or screen flow stuff. You need to show somebody what to use, and you can change the text, and you can do, the colors and everything. So I think these are all the defaults, but I find it handy for this sort of thing. Why is it on the right? Because the start menu goes on the left. Why would I put my dock on the left? It goes on the right. Okay, so other menu bar items. I've got Bartender that hides all of these other things. This list has really grown out of control over the years, and I can just go through them quickly. I've got Text Expander, which I'm a big fan of. Downlink, which I mentioned a second ago, it's what does this wallpaper, so I can choose between different satellite imagery. This is updated every 15 minutes or so, so if I want to go see, what it's like at Jason's house, I can pull up the, the West Coast. And because it's basically real time, it's like barely sunrise, and out in the ocean it's still, pre-dawn light. But I use the continental U.S. because actually on this imagery, I'm basically dead center. Memphis is right there in the corner of Tennessee. So I've used that for a really long time. I really like it. Quitter is an app by Marco Arment. It lets you, and there's other ways to do this. Keyboard Maestro can do this actually, and I'm probably going to replace this with Keyboard Maestro, which I'm using anyways. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But it will hide or quit applications after a set number of minutes of inactivity. So like 1Password, calendar, I don't need to see all the time. So like if I flip to it, it'll just hide itself after a few minutes. And then Slack, messages, and mail also hide after a few minutes. Someone's asking about the sound absorption. I have links to that all on 512. So it's 512pixels.net/gear. I think it's listed there. I forget the name of the company, but I've got panels all around here, some behind me, and a bunch over on that side too. Because this studio is basically just a box, and I needed to absorb a lot of that stuff. So over next, I've got Rocket, which lets you do Slack-style emoji anywhere in the system, starting with a colon and start typing the Slack thing. 1Password again. Screens, I use screens to have remote access to my machines. Again, not as important as it used to be. My Stream Deck, so I can actually show you all this. So this is my Stream Deck setup, and I've got a few things here. So I have this top row is all podcast artwork. So if I hit any of those buttons on the Stream Deck, which is under my monitor, it opens a new Safari window with the show notes, the right page in the Relay CMS, and the right page in our ad tracking system. So I can very quickly, if I need to get ready for Connected or Liftoff or MPU or whatever, I can just hit that button on the Stream Deck and all those notes show up. The St. Jude logo is actually pulling up our campaign page. And then I've got some light control, so I have my key light here, and then I also have lamps on either side of my desk, and I can turn those on and off. Migration Assistant, I stole this icon, but what this does is, so let me back up a second. So login items on the Mac are cool, and they're great for like menu bar items, but I don't want Mail and Safari and everything like trying to beat each other to launch. And so what I have is this launch icon. I just used the Migration Assistant icon because I thought it was funny looking. And what it does, it launches all the applications I want open on my main desktop, my main space. So that's Messages, Mail, Todoist, Slack, and I think those are the ones that it opens. And then it waits, I think, 3 seconds, then opens Discord and Twitter. And those are assigned to space number 2. So it opens all mine on space number 1, sits for a second, slides over, opens those, waits a second, and then opens Music full screen. And all that is done through Keyboard Maestro. And so what's really cool is that you can have Keyboard Maestro actually load up in Stream Deck. So here are all of the steps for that. So it's open all these applications, pause 5 seconds, open these other ones, pause 5 seconds. And then in the Stream Deck controller, you basically say, I want this button to fire this Keyboard Maestro action. So it's really cool. It's turned the Stream Deck into a Keyboard Maestro like trigger machine for me. And then the last one just are media controls, you know, forward, pause, and then mute. The last one is mute all audio. So if I get a phone call or something, or I need to mute everything on my system, that mutes all the audio coming out of the Mac Pro. The boom arm and the audio stuff is off to the side here. Maybe I can aim the camera at that in a minute and show you all that before we wrap up. So the other things up here, Stream Deck, I use Better Snap Tool. So it's kind of like Arrow Snap in Windows. It'll snap things to the side if I drag them over. I've got Google Drive, which seems to be angry, so I need to look into that. Of course, I've got you know, the lovely Adobe Creative Cloud. And then these last few are just a couple things. Mac Media Key Forwarder. So in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, macOS changed where, like, if you're viewing a YouTube video in Safari, the media controls on your keyboard would affect the YouTube video and not iTunes or music. And I don't want that. I want those to always kind of be hardwired to iTunes. And so this is an open source app that does that. The next one is called Mountain. John Siracusa turned me onto this. And basically, I can mount or unmount any volume. So you see my boot clone, which backs up every night, backs up my internal SSD. That is unmounted at the moment, but it mounts automatically when I need to. Recent servers, that sort of thing. Hazel, I really don't use Hazel for that much. I have it running a couple of rules, Keyboard Maestro, and then finally the control center for that light. But I've got that hooked up through the Stream Deck. So that's the menu bar. Obviously, Bartender is very useful in managing all that stuff, keeping it all sort of out of the way and out of my line of sight. So let me show you all the audio stuff real quick. Let me move this camera and we'll see how this goes. Let's see, so let me change scenes on y'all. All right, so here is sort of the side of my desk here. So here are y'all, here's the chat room. You see the Stream Deck. So the boom arm is a K&M arm. It mounts with a clamp mount here. This is a really nice boom arm. The spring's really good and everything locks. So I like that I can put it right where I want it, and then these knobs will lock it all into place. So if I bring this out and I want it to stay here, I can turn this and lock it. I've got my mute switch that goes, the microphone passes through. I got my USB Pre 2, which is my audio interface, and currently I'm speaking with my Rode Lav mic, so I have that wired in to the USB Pre 2, so I sound good for y'all and you don't have to see a microphone. And pins and a Lego Space Shuttle like everyone has. So all that stuff is kind of there off to the right of me, and all the wires and stuff are up underneath the desk, which is nice to have them all hidden. So that's sort of the setup. Steve in the chat was asking about spaces with a monitor this large. I really just like Discord and Twitter being out of sight when I'm working, but I can get to them easily. So, I check in on the Relay member Discord all the time, but having it one space away means that, all that activity, there's like 3,000 people in there, is sort of sanctioned off, so I can focus at work. I am using the Rode Wireless Go. It's right here, and I've got the transceiver clipped to my pocket, and then I'm using that into the USB Pre via a Pro DI, a passive direct box, which I'm a big fan of. The interface does provide phantom power. I'm really just using the DI box to convert everything to get to XLR because I already had all that set up. So not a normal setup for me. I think I'm going to do more of this though, so I'm going to work on making this a little more permanent. So I can just switch over to the Rode when it's time to do something on the Lav, because I didn't want to stream today, with this big thing in my face, and so I thought it would be nice to be able to move around a little bit. And in case we wanted to see anything else in the studio like we did, I could just take the camera with me, which is on this like El Cheapo Amazon tripod. I bought these tripods in a 3-pack. That's how you know they're quality. So yeah, that's a little bit about my workspace, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. Again, we are raising money this month for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We're at $60,000 right now, which is absolutely incredible. I wrote this thing on 5/12 yesterday about how special it is to me and my family that the Apple community gets behind my family and so many other families every year about supporting this, about talking about supporting St. Jude during National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And there's this real sense that we have that there are so many people who are on board with us, rooting for us and all the other kids and families at St. Jude. So if you haven't seen that, that's over on 512 Pixels. All the gear stuff is also at 512pixels.net/gear. I keep that up to date with what I'm using, and you can kind of go through there and see what I do. This stuff, we got to remember, y'all, like, this is my job. I've built up to this level of equipment over a decade. You don't have to spend this kind of money. You don't need this sort of stuff in the beginning. It is a way to kind of get started. Get started slowly and then work your way up. So, anyways, I appreciate y'all so much. Relay wouldn't be here. 512 Pixels wouldn't be here without y'all listening and reading, and it really means so much to us, and it's such a nice, tangible way to see that during the month of September, raising money for St. Jude. So a couple things coming up in $10,000. So when we cross 70,000, I'm gonna do another live stream installing the wheels on my Mac Pro. I'm going to do that live here on Twitch. I haven't even watched any videos on how to do it, so we're going to just hope I have the tools and we'll figure that out together. As we move forward in the milestones, you can see them listed at stjude.org/relay. We've got some other stuff coming up. So when we cross $500,000 raised in total this year and last year, Mike and I are going to do a live stream, and we've committed to doing that no matter what time it is. So if it's 4 a.m. for me or 2 a.m. for him, whatever it is, we're going to get on the stream and do that. So you're probably going to see one of us half asleep. And we're going to be adding stuff to that page throughout the month. So even if you've already donated, or if you're going to maybe donate later, stjude.org/relay is also sort of a calendar of things coming up that we're doing this month. So we're really excited about all that stuff. That sort of comes to a head on September 18th with the podcastathon. It's going to be from 2 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here on the Twitch channel. And if you didn't see it last year, it's a 6-hour variety show hosted by Mike and I, and a bunch of Relay FM hosts join us, and we have some really cool interviews. Y'all, I can't wait to share the interviews we've gotten to do with some people at St. Jude. They're incredible. We've really been able to do some really cool stuff this year for y'all for the second annual podcastathon. But of course, it's going to be all remote, right? So Mike and I were side by side last year. He'll be in his studio this year, in London. And so it will be a little different, but we've really worked hard to make it really fun and engaging. And we're so excited to start hosting that. So again, that's Friday, September 18th, 2 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We would love for you to come hang out. Just put it on the background. We moved it up in the day a little bit so it wasn't so late for Mike. But put it on during the day, come and go as you please. It will be up on YouTube when we're done, so you can always watch it later. My kids watched it last year in 30-minute segments over the course of a couple weeks. But we'd love for y'all to hang out then as well, because it is going to be a really cool day. So again, stjude.org/relay. Super psyched that we've crossed $60,000. It blows me away every year. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you soon.